Bitcoin.
Yeah, the first crypto fund in the U.S.
First crypto fund, and 1,000 times was passed, and now it's 30% above the 1,000 times at this point.
Still early, though. I think the median institutional ownership of blockchain is zero. Most institutions have zero exposure, and even the ones that are really progressive, really been working on it, have 1 or 2% of their allocation to blockchain. So I think we still have a couple more decades
You've
to go.
put that 95% of financial wealth has no investments in blockchain whatsoever.
They have no material investments. Some people have 20 basis points, 30 basis points, but ultimately I think it'll be an asset class with 8% investment.
So you would date the regulatory headwinds, you would say that goes back 15 years, basically. And now it's actually, are they tailwinds now?
I think so. I think most people in the industry just want clarity. They want rules written down so they can follow them. And it seems like the president-elect has a much more direct approach to promoting regulatory clarity. And if you think about it, the U.S. was very instrumental in making the internet happen in the United States. The U.S. government built the internet and then provided all kinds of regulatory safe harbors. And all the largest internet companies in the free world are in the U.S. In blockchain, it's the polar opposite. 93% of protocols are based, 93% of the market cap is based outside the United States. It'd be great to have that flow back. And
you called Trump the first pro-blockchain U.S. president in office.
True.
Really?
Yeah, he bought cheeseburgers with Bitcoins. First time a head of state of the United States has done that.
You have heard about a possible strategic reserve. You think that's a possibility or a probability?
I think there are two versions of that. One is the president-elect has said that he will not sell the Bitcoins the U.S. already owns. The United States already owns 1% of the world's Bitcoins. That seems easier to do than getting passage to buy additional Bitcoins. But I think it's a great strategy. The U.S. is the reserve currency of the world, so we don't have another currency to save our reserves in. So saving in Bitcoin would be a great strategic move.
What did you read that convinced you? Because I watch people on our air, people that work for this company, saying there's no reason to believe that it's any store of value. And it's funny, they come up with the same old argument that it's not backed by anything. Yeah. As if anything that has been used for money, once we got off the gold standard, nothing's backed by anything. It's money. That's a characteristic of money.
It's used backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government.
Not really. Not when you can issue as many as you want. It's not backed by any. It's paper. It's fiat. It's much less. Money itself for 4,000 years has represented. There's certain characteristics that Bitcoin has 6 of them, does it not? Is it even better than gold?
Yeah, no, it's better than gold, paper money, Visa, MasterCard, all of these things. And that's why it's such a great trade.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Pantera Capital's Dan Moorhead did the first crypto fund in the U.S. and has paid off 1,000 times fold. And he says that 93% of the market cap is outside the U.S. And guys, that's all planned because we funded crypto from the beginning. It's our big banks, our big corporations have been funding crypto from the beginning. And we know they use the mainstream media to make you indecisive. So most of the United States investors were too scared to invest. They didn't take the time to study. Now they can clearly see that these digital currencies are not going anywhere. But when you're old like me, we've seen this movie before. When the internet first came out, mainstream media acted like it didn't stand a chance. And we can clearly see the plan. And when I saw Bitcoin and crypto, I knew it was a plan behind it. And that's what made me do all types of research. And now we can clearly see it unfolding. And while we're doing the research, we also see this is biblical. These machines are going to take over the economy without a human involved. And then on top of it, they have programmable money. They can be able to tell you what, when, and how to buy and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone, or you're not getting it at all. Turn your wallet completely off. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then we have a discussion on fiat is backed by nothing. And Becky said it's backed by the U.S. government with a straight face. We know they're just printing paper. And they printed 80% of all money in existence in 2 years. Yes, people, you heard that correct if you didn't know. 80% of the money in 2 years. So with all these economists at the Fed, they definitely knew inflation was coming. But it was coming to destroy this legacy market so this fourth industrial revolution can rise. And we have David Wu on tariffs. And tariffs are part of the fourth industrial revolution. Remember, before federal income taxes, we had tariffs to bring in the taxes. Now that a lot of these people are going to be out of work, that's the reason why we're going back to the tariffs. And he goes over that China's only getting hit by 10%. Canada and Mexico is 25%. But remember, a lot of China's manufacturing has been moved to Mexico. So it's coming from Mexico inside the United States. So they are going to get hit with that 25%. But when it comes to these EVs, remember, guys, the goal of the fourth industrial revolution, they don't want people driving anyway. Elon Musk has said it. We know Klaus has stated it. If you don't have a steering wheel and no pedal, we know these cars are not being built for humanity. These cars are going to be corporations themselves. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And the work that China does bring in the U.S., believe me, you don't want to work those jobs. And that's the reason why they're bringing in these immigrants. We've seen the Foxconn videos. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Fed minutes out. And we get plenty of data before the Fed meets. Of course, right now they're saying they're looking at cutting rates in December. But we know that can change on these next two reports. But if we do get that 25 basis points, we will have room to run for the end of the year. Now, guys, tomorrow we have CME closing for the rest of the month. We have the stock market and bond market going to be closed on Thursday and then a half a day on Friday. Both the stock market and bond market are half a days on Friday. On Thursday, we're going to be the only game in town, so we should get liquidity Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we start this game right back over. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I think the most important takeaway from the announcement last night is the fact that China was only hit with a 10% tariff versus 25% for both Canada and Mexico, which is actually very surprising if you think about this. But then again, if you think about it, it's not that surprising because guess what? The biggest basically tariff, whatever you call it, warmonger, Lighthizer, has not yet landed a job in the White House. He should have been the first appointment, and yet he has nowhere to be seen. I mean, something obvious, which is very likely Trump has already begun the engagement with the Chinese. I bet you informal talks are already progressing. Let's think about this. The second most important person in the Trump administration is going to be Elon Musk. Elon Musk has this biggest factory in the world in China. He's building the second biggest factory in the world in China. China is the second largest market for Tesla. So from that point of view, I don't think Elon Musk wants to see a blow up between the U.S. and China. On top of that, given the massive escalation in the Ukraine war, to declare World War III, Trump probably has to now reach out to Xi Jinping, probably who's the only person who's got some leverage over Putin to basically help Trump to bring him across the line. So I would argue everything being said, I think actually what the announcement yesterday has nothing to do with tariff, has nothing to do with anything. In fact, probably just means that the administration is making a lot more faster progress than you might imagine when it comes to doing a deal with China. Exactly. Let's remind your viewers some numbers. In 2018, when Trump declared trade war on China, China accounted for 23% of total U.S. imports. Today, China only accounts for 13% of U.S. imports. In other words, you're not going to raise too much revenue, and you're probably not even going to balance the U.S. trade deficit. And I guarantee you what Scott Bessent, who is telling Trump, is that, you know what, you can hit China with 60% tariff, but Long-term interest rate is going to go up so much, it's going to make it counterproductive. You're going to raise less money by hitting China with tariff than you're going to lose by paying out more interest payment, which is now at $1.1 trillion. So I think from that point of view, to me, what Trump is after is not the tariff. Trump needs the Chinese to create jobs in the U.S. I think there's a much more obvious deal that they're talking about on the table, which is lifting restriction on foreign investment for the Chinese in the U.S. to allow the likes of BYD to basically come into the U.S., create jobs, build factories, and make cars and sell to the Americans.
Uber, Bitcoin, self-driving cars. Combine those three together, and you have the self-owning taxi. A car that is a corporation that owns itself, pays for the car lease, the car insurance, and the gasoline from the revenues it makes, giving passengers a ride, and there's not a single human involved in that matter.
Tyler, thanks. The minutes of the November meeting say that if the economy performs as expected, as in inflation continues to come down, the labor market remains around full employment, it will be appropriate to gradually move the rate towards neutral. Notice that word gradually appears a couple times in the minutes. All participants agreed at the meeting to lower the rate in November. Almost all saw the risks on both sides of the mandate between full employment and stable prices to be pretty much balanced. Some saw less downside risk to the economy and the labor market. Some suggested that the Fed could pause if inflation remained elevated. Some said easing could be accelerated if the economy and the labor market weakened more than anticipated. There was uncertainty over the neutral rate, complicating the level, determining how restrictive the Fed is, and underscoring the need for the Fed to move gradually because of that uncertainty over the level of restrictiveness and the neutral rate. The committee did see progress on inflation, but noted it remained elevated. They expect housing inflation to come down in the coming months. A couple were concerned that inflation, however, could take longer to get to the 2% target. Several factors were seen putting downward pressure on inflation, including declining pricing power at businesses, the still restrictive monetary policy from the Federal Reserve, along with anchored inflation expectations. Some did not see wages any longer as a potential source of inflation, especially due to productivity gains. The economy was seen expanding at a solid pace, and the financial system had risks, including unrealized losses on bank assets and commercial real estate. Notice, guys, no talk of tariffs. The only mention of the word fiscal was in regard to China, and there was no talk on the election, except for one note from the staff about volatility in markets around the election. But the Fed, those may have been issues that were on the minds of Fed officials, but does not appear they showed up in the meeting.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.